What's up, everybody? I'm Dale Smith with the Rising Tide podcast, and I am here today with Patrick from the Anchor Brewing Union. Patrick, it's so great to see you.
You as well.
Yeah, so tell us, why are we out here at Buzzworks today?
Yeah, so I've had a couple people ask me this question, and they're like, so it's coming back, right? It's like, we don't know. We don't know, unfortunately. But the thing is, this event isn't about us coming back. It's about showing the public that we're still here, and we still have a community that cares about the workers here. Not just about the beer. I mean, the beer is amazing, you know what I mean? But it's amazing because of the workers that make the beer, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's definitely super important to show. This isn't just about a brand. This isn't about beer. It's about the community. It's about the workers. You know, people make things happen.
Correct.
You know, people are what makes this beer possible. And so I think, you know, this showing of support is really important, even if it's like at this time. For those that don't know, you know, Anchor Brewing became defunct a few years ago after Sapporo bought it. Basically said it was bankrupt. It was not tenable to continue after a bunch of changes. And then after that, you know, the Anchor Brewing Union tried to continue by creating a workers' co-op, attempting to purchase the company. They were unsuccessful with that at the time. However, after the fact, the person who owns Chobani, who's a billionaire, basically bought the brand, hasn't done anything with it yet. But people might have seen in the news, you know, a lot of like rumblings about stuff happening on site and stuff. I don't know. What's your take on like the status of the brand and everything?
Yeah. So
you've heard.
One thing that, you know, like a few of us have stayed within the industry itself.
Yeah.
But it's tough because, you know, our industry is kind of dying in the Bay Area in a lot of ways, or it's restructuring, I guess is the right term for it. It's not dying, but craft beer is expensive. The bigger regional brands are having trouble with getting it out there as much as they were back in the mid to early 2000s. So it's tough to stay in the industry. But because of that, a lot of people, it's a very close-knit industry. So while, you know, like I work at Alameda Brewing on Alameda Island. I know some people that work at Ghost Town. I know people that work at Almanac and Faction. And, you know, like it's all very close to each other.
Yeah.
That not just we talk to each other, but they get talked to by everybody else.
Yeah.
And not just in the Bay Area, but just, you know, statewide, nationwide. We all kind of talk to each other in a way. That we'll hear rumors from time to time about like, oh, we heard this was going on, or somebody told us this, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. Because, you know, gossip is always just like, what can I say that makes me look cool?
Yeah.
And Anchor makes you look cool if you know the stuff that's happening with it. But some of the rumors that we've heard have been, it feels like it's getting substantiated. So, without saying what they are, like we have pretty high hopes that it will come back sooner rather than later. We know when we tried to buy it back as a co-op, we were able to get into the financials and see kind of the issues of essentially what Sapporo had on their hands, and see kind of what the damage really is to try and sell a company like that. And it was pretty tough, you know, like we knew that it was going to be a very big uphill battle to even try and like be in contention for it. The fact that we got as far as we did is amazing to me and a lot of my old coworkers, that we even got that far. But on that same note, if it wasn't for us taking that big swing and like knowing that it might be a strikeout, but still going for as much as we possibly can, and putting so much energy into it, you know, that we think that Ulukaya probably would have never even heard about us. I think in that first video that he put out there, he said like he's never even heard of the brand before until like recently.
Yet he has enough money to go and buy it.
Which, you know, fair, you know what I mean? Like, because of you, like, there's some hope left, you know what I mean? But we got to also look between the lines there and be like, well, why didn't he hear about it? You know, it's because these workers, like, fought tooth and nail to try and keep their jobs. Even knowing that it might be a losing battle, just to have that kind of hope and drive to do something is really tough, you know? And for some of us that were like organizing the whole co-op thing, like it's a lot of info that you're basically like learning brand new. Just the same as when we unionized. Like a lot of us didn't know what that meant. We learned throughout the time, and like it's the same with the co-op thing. Like nobody really knows what co-ops really are about because it doesn't get talked about enough. But they're amazing situations to be in, and if it's run really well and everything works out, like it's an amazing opportunity to like have everybody there. And we were inviting management and workers to these meetings, just because we wanted to, like, we didn't care, like, if me and you didn't see eye to eye to this specific clause in this contract, it doesn't matter now. Like, our jobs are pretty much gone. Let's try and bring it back and bring back something better, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's all really important. And I think, like, one thing that's important to maintain that, or in maintaining that consistent presence, is showing that the workers aren't going to go down with a fight.
Exactly.
I think one thing that's I'm thinking about is, like, what do you think it would mean once Anchor comes back if the union is recognized? What would it mean to the workers? What would it mean to the city? What would it mean to the industry?
A new start.
Yeah.
We unionized because we saw the writing on the wall with Sapporo coming in.
Yeah.
We all knew about the news before anybody else did. It's fair, we're there. But we saw that as an opportunity to keep our traditions that we built there and have been passed down through generation. Like we aren't the people that made Anchor Steam what it was. This generation of coworkers were taught from generations before them. That this is how you do things, I think like in certain aspects of the jobs, like we didn't even have standard operating procedures because it was passed down orally, right? And that was a sense of pride that like once you're in and like you can handle the amount of work and labor that job was, because it's not, they tried to automate it towards the end, but the automation did not work. But our job was very like labor intensive, and that's part of where the care and love came from. Like that, our blood, sweat, and tears were in that beer. Not literally, but maybe sometimes. But like we saw the union as an opportunity to kind of put a pause on a corporation coming in, killing everything, rehiring everybody, and just making everything get like as much profit as possible. Which I guess it didn't work out for them in the end, but you hear these things about how the union kind of like was the reason that it fell, and like that's 100% wrong. That's not true. If anything, like towards the end there, we saw the writing on the wall that we're in some pretty deep shit, that we were talking about like, okay, so if we won't get raises, which, it sucks, we live in such a high cost of living, like, if we don't get raises, give us something else in return, and we'll work towards it. We'll do a 1-year contract and see where we're at in the next year, and we'll move towards it, but try and be civil about it, and never went for it. And we always were just like, dude, all we want is a job to come to that we feel comfortable in, that we are taken care of, and that we know that like we have longevity there. I fully expected to retire, have my kids, possibly have my kids work at the brewery. No,
that's really an important thing you're bringing up about the legacy and the history that's being passed on. Anchor always touted that it was like one of the original craft breweries, the style of brewing with the open vats, all that stuff coming into play. That's a thing that we don't see happening everywhere. And it's interesting to see how that tradition just carry on through oral history. I totally agree. The stuff about the union being its downfall, it's not true. We see these ebbs and flows in the industry all the time. Like Ballast Point is about to have their spot out on 16th closed. There's all sorts of turnover that's constantly happening, and unions are especially important in these situations because they give workers the power to actually organize and to fight for the things that they really need. I know plenty of people that worked for Anchor over the years, and some of them got hurt on the job, and that was before they had a union. Y'all had a union. And things might have played out much differently if the union was there to actually be like, hey, like these are the changes that need to happen, So I think it would be really significant, when Anchor comes around again, if the union is recognized automatically. But I think, shows of solidarity like this are really important in, bringing that momentum back, and showing whoever owns it that, this is important for the workers, this is important for the community, this is important for the industry, and we're not going to let down on this. We're not going to give this up without a fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the, because I have family that, like, we're very proud of what I was doing there, and, it was really fun to talk to them about, like, what I do on my job. But I think the card check and the recognition, like, it's just only fair for both sides, Like, don't go crazy and don't go anti-union, like, let our people do what our people do, let your people do what your people do, and, like, let's just, one thing that I would be very excited to see and hope I can see is the fact that we wouldn't be working with a faceless corporation, we'd be working with him. And it sounds pretty familiar, like I'm not, probably apples and oranges, but Fritz Maytag was on his own too. And like, let's try and create a different environment to where, like, sure, it's union and, owners hate unions sometimes, but like, we were never there to be assholes. We were never there to cause a ruckus. We were there to hold people accountable. And sometimes manager, middle management, or upper management are just like, they don't know how to react when someone below them tells them you can't do that anymore. No,
I think it's really important for unions to exist in any workplace, especially in a more industrial setting, where things are more dangerous, and you need, that actual organization that's actually going to stand up to management in situations and be like, hey, this isn't right. We need to fix this. I'm not doing this just to be a jerk. I'm doing this because we don't want people to get hurt.
Right.
And I think you bring up a really important point too. It's like a lot of these instances with stuff unionizing, workers care about their jobs. They care about doing a good job. They want to make sure things are done well. And generally speaking, union workers tend to do a better job at things, because they know they have that protection. They know they have that backing, and so they're not afraid to, point stuff out when it happens here or there. Especially when it's coming from, a more working class oriented union, as opposed to one where, the labor bureaucracy is dealing with stuff more from the top down. I think like the ILWU does a pretty good job of trying to make sure that the workers feel empowered in their workplaces.
Yeah, that was one of the major, because I was also a part of the original organizing committee when we first unionized. But my responsibility was with the bartenders. That was one of the things that kind of put us in their direction, is because we didn't want somebody to come down and just be like, this is how we do contracts in this industry, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we wanted the messiness. We wanted to be able to make mistakes. We wanted to learn from them and make it ours, And the thing, it worked out really well, other than our, job closing down, but it worked out really well in the way that, I remember having people from across the country asking us what to do, and asking us advice on how to do things, and we were only in our first contract. So to be able to make that type of impact, and give people some of the courage that, if we can do it, so can you, kind of thing, was really cool.
That's really, I think that really speaks to the significance of having a union in a craft workplace, in a craft brewing setting, because it does set a precedent, and people are going to be looking to the standard bearers, as it may be, to try and understand the situation way better. It sounds like we should probably wrap up pretty soon, given there's a lot of stuff that folks want to talk about inside.
For sure.
I really appreciated this conversation. I really appreciate getting this chance to reconnect. And I'm so happy to see, this show of solidarity. Growing up in Potrero Hill, always passed by the Anchor Brewing building, and it really means a lot to me, all of this. So,
I'm hoping the best.
Same.
That's all I can do.
And the way we make it the best is if we fight for it. You know?
Exactly.
This is a good step forward.
Exactly.
So, thanks, Patrick.
Yep.
Appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
Dave.